Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again. This time we're going to do another reaction video. This time it's how big is the universe? Okay, so this should be pretty interesting. I haven't seen this video before. I'm an English teacher. I kind of pride myself on knowing stuff about science. I've got two little girls, so even though I haven't been in a classroom for 30 years now, I do try to keep up so that if my kids ask me a question, at least I've got some idea about what the hell they're talking about. But this should be interesting to see what we've learned in the last 30 years since I did my science class. I've recovered from COVID, so thanks to all the people that sent me best wishes. Thank you very much. My whole family's got over it. We're getting back on with our lives at the moment. Still feel a little bit sick. Not totally 100%, but we'll see how we go. But anyway, if you like the channel, please like and subscribe. I always try to do something different on the channel. It's not always just about one thing. It's not always about gaming. It's a bit about science and a bit about learning and all those sort of stuff, reacting. But anyway, let's have a look how big the universe is, and let's get stuck into it.
Earth. You live here on this planet somewhere, and everything that you've ever known is located right here. But just how small exactly is Earth when compared to the scale of the entire universe? Let's start by zooming out to where we can see our nearest cosmic neighbor, the Moon. You may think that the Moon is very close to Earth since it dominates our night skies, but in reality the Moon
Okay, so I don't know. I don't think that. I think the moon is a long way away, about a quarter million kilometers away. It looks big in the sky because it's big, but so is the sun, and it's super far away, so.
Moon isn't this close to our planet, it's actually about this far away, 384,400 kilometers away from you right now on average. You could fit 30 entire Earths in between this distance, and if you somehow were able to drive a car at a constant 100 kilometers per hour speed, it would take you about 160 days to drive the entire distance. Despite this incredible distance, however, 12 humans have actually set foot here, representing the furthest away that any individual human has ever been away from the Earth, and one of humanity's greatest achievements.
And there's still people in the world that don't believe that this happened. There's video footage of it, for Christ's sake. It's just ridiculous.
This is what the Earth would look like from there if you were standing there with
Well, no, that's not what it would look like. That's what it does look like, because we know.
them. And if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between you and them, since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at. This is a photo that was taken on Mars, and that tiny dot that you see there is Earth as seen from the Martian surface. On average, Mars is an incredible 225 million kilometers away from Earth, but that distance can be as high as 401 million kilometers. That means that whenever humanity finally gets around to landing a human on the planet, that person will be 986 times further away from Earth than the astronauts who landed on the Moon were. In addition, the time delay for sending a message from Mars back to Earth isn't just 2.5 seconds, it's actually more like 20 minutes each direction.
Alright, well, so that's 100 times. So that's exactly how it should work out. But yeah, so when we see a diagram at school, you see like Venus and Mercury and Earth and Mars, and they're only this far apart, but the actual scale is completely bonkers.
Which would render instant communication in the event of an emergency impossible. When we zoom out even further away, we can find the Voyager 1 space probe, which is the furthest away man-made object from Earth. It is currently located 138 AU.
So it's 138 times further than the sun. Alright, so that's pretty far. So an AU is an astronomical unit, which is the distance from the Earth to the Sun. So, God, how far is that? And this is 138 times further than that. Alright, so now we're getting We're starting to get into huge distances now. So we're going, at some point, we have to change over to light years, I think. But what an amazing number that is, just 138 times further than the sun. We have a piece of equipment. That's pretty cool. That makes me proud to be human.
From the Earth, AU meaning...
Because even when we die, that thing will keep going. And one time in the future, someone's going to find it. And it's going to blow their mind.
Astronomical unit, which is the distance between the...
And they'll be listening to Elvis.
the Earth and the Sun, which means that Voyager 1 is 138 times further away from us than the Sun is. At some point on its long voyage, Voyager 1 turned its camera around and took this photograph. It may not look like much at first, but in my opinion...
Alright, so I know this picture, and that was a big thing when it happened, because it got to a point where they were going, it was either going to turn off or they had to shut it down or something like that. But they actually reprogrammed it, which is ridiculous. So it took like 4 or 5 weeks for them to send the message for it just to turn around, just to give it the computer input to turn around and take a picture, and then send it back. So this is like months and months. But yeah, this is why science is so important and how amazing it is. This is why when I talk to my kids, this is what I talk about when I talk about mathematics. How important it is. Everything in our life revolves around mathematics. Not just this. Every single thing you see in your modern day is all mathematics. But it's really great. So I think Carl Sagan did something about this picture. Or was it Dawkins? But anyway, someone said something about this, and it's a really good quote.
Opinion, this is the greatest single photograph ever taken in all of human history. This tiny, pale blue dot is Earth, and I don't think that anybody has ever said something as amazing about this as Carl Sagan when he said, "If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home."
Alright, so yeah, I know this. I read his book. So he says every single thing in history, every single person that you know, every single empire, every single king, everything is on that one little dust speck.
That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and every forager. Every hero and coward. Every creator and destroyer of civilizations. Every king and every peasant. Every young couple in love. Every hopeful child. Every mother and every father. Every inventor and explorer. Every teacher of morals. Every corrupt politician. Every superstar. Every supreme leader. Every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Voyager 1 is currently traveling at 17 kilometers every single second, but even at that speed, it won't break out of the reach of our solar system for another 30,000 years. Once we go beyond the solar system, we arrive in our interstellar neighborhood. Here we shift to the light-year unit of measurement.
Yeah, okay, so so I knew we had to change over to light years at some point because it gets too small. 30,000 years at 17 kilometers per second. It's ridiculous.
Which is the distance that light travels in a full Earth year, or about 9.461 trillion kilometers. The star Proxima Centauri here is the closest other star to us other than our Sun, but it's still 4.20.
So, but isn't Alpha Centauri 2? Isn't it like a double sun? So 4.24 light years away. 10 trillion kilometers. When you start getting into this sort of measurements, it's extremely hard for humans to understand this. And I can understand why some people just don't grasp it, because it's just mind-boggling how far this is. And the stupid thing about all of this is that we might be looking at nothing. We might be looking at a little touch of what is actually there. So I used to have, when I went to school, I used to have a really cool science teacher, and I really liked science just because of my teacher. So if you have a good teacher, make sure you respect them, because they're important. And he used to tell me that, imagine that you're in a boat and you're in the middle of the ocean and you can't see any other land, but all you can see is water all the way around you. You can only ever see as far as the horizon. So we might be in a situation where we're in the middle of the boat, in the middle of the ocean, and we can only see this far. But that doesn't mean that the whole Earth is not there. That's where we could be with the universe. And then we get under multiverse and all this other crazy stuff. So yeah, this is
24 light years away from us. To put that into perspective, if it was heading in the right direction, it would still take Voyager 1 over 70,000 years to reach it. In other words, if you drove your car at 100 kilometers an hour like in our previous example to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe is just to finally get there, and it wouldn't.
He's got there wisely, not to scale, because it's not to scale. Because you can't do that. You can't do a scale, that measurement. You'd have to have like a sand grain in the middle of the Earth and then go past the moon or something.
Even exist still when you arrived. When we zoom out even further, we can see the entire Milky Way galaxy, inside of which Earth is located right here. This yellow dot is the furthest extent of humanity's radio broadcasts throughout history, which means that any possible aliens who live outside of this range are totally unaware of humanity's presence. It's complete silence outside of this yellow dot as far as we are currently aware, but the entire galaxy spans over 100,000 light.
Alright, so here again, so it's just anyone who doesn't think that there's life in space is dreaming for a start. If you just go back 500 years on this planet, we didn't know that other people lived on other continents until we took a boat there. So if you just look at our own, and not only that, how many species have we found? Every day they find like 900 new species of deep ocean fish, and every day. So there's so much different life just on this one planet. And to think that there's no more life just in our galaxy, but forget about our galaxy, what about the universe? It's mathematically impossible. Impossible.
Years from end to end. There are over 100 billion stars and over 100 billion planets inside of our galaxy. But you have never seen the full glory of the galaxy at night, because 99% of the stars that you can see with the naked eye are limited to this small, tiny region right here. But even this massive galaxy is nothing compared to the rest of what's out there. Zooming out even further and we arrive at the local group of galaxies, a collection of 54 different galaxies that is about 10 million light years across. But zooming out even further and we can see the Virgo supercluster, of which the local group here is just a tiny segment of. There are at least 100 other groups of galaxies just like our own local group inside of here, and the distance from one side to the other is a mind-numbing 110 million light years. But even the massive Virgo supercluster is nothing but a quiet and tiny lobe of the Great Laniakea supercluster, an enormous structure that is home to our galaxy as well as 100,000 other galaxies.
You know, You know how people don't like change and people they don't like to feel like this, and I can understand that, and I can understand religious people, I can understand that, but they're really missing out on how amazing everything is. Just to turn around and say that, oh yeah, we're the best thing in this little speck. I get that, but look at this, and this is what we know. And you know, it keeps getting added to and added to every single year. And people spend their, I always, 100 years ago, if you were a scientist, or well, maybe not 100 years ago, but let's go back 300 years ago. If you were a scientist, you could be pretty well disciplined in everything. You could be studying eyesight, you could be studying chemistry, you could be studying medicine, you could be studying anatomy, you could be studying geology. You can pick and choose, do whatever you want. Now you can't do that. If you want to understand one particular science, you have to dedicate your entire life to it. There's no more Renaissance people. There's no more Renaissance man where you can just be such a genius on anything because it's just so complicated now that you have to, not only do you have to absorb thousands and thousands and thousands of your predecessors' work, you have to understand it and then you have to take it further. So to do that over multiple disciplines is just not possible anymore. It's really incredible how far human thought has gone.
The distance from one side to the other is 520 million light years, but from even there we can zoom out all the way to the entire observable universe and see that even the titanic Laniakea supercluster is just a tiny and insignificant part of everything. This is the observable universe, and it contains everything that we know of. It is home to at least 2 trillion different and individual galaxies, which together contain more stars than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. The distance from Earth to any side of the observable universe is 46.5.
Alright, so that's another thing that my teacher taught me when I was at high school. I asked him what I thought would be a simple question. I said, where's the center of the universe? And he just said, wherever you are, that's the center. So yeah, we're starting to get, so if you can only see 46.5 billion light years, that means that the total that you can see is what, 93 billion light years, which is just crazy. Just crazy amount of numbers.
5 billion light years, which means that the entire width is 93 billion light years across. What's perhaps even more interesting, however, is what actually lies beyond the observable universe. Keep in mind that the observable universe is all that we can currently see, and it's entirely possible that the rest of the universe outside of it is vastly larger and more fantastic than we can possibly ever imagine. We simply don't know what else is out there because the light from these incredibly distant places has not yet had enough time in the universe's history to reach us yet back on Earth, and the light from some places may never reach us at all. Because some parts of space very far away from Earth are expanding away from us faster than the speed of light,
Well, you can't go faster than the speed of light. I don't believe that because you can't go faster than the speed of light, because if you say that, that means that we can't observe it, which means you're disproving your own point. So nothing goes faster than the speed of light. If it did, you wouldn't know it was there, so you couldn't make that statement.
that means that the light from these places will never, in an infinite amount of time, reach Earth. meaning that even if humanity is eternal and exists forever, there will still be an unknown number of places in the universe that we will never know about or ever see. So, it is very likely that as unbelievably enormous as it seems, the observable universe is just a tiny slice of what we can currently see of the entire universe. According to the theory of cosmic inflation that was proposed by Dr. Alan Guth, if it is assumed that cosmic inflation began at 10 to the negative 37th of a second after the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age times the speed of light, then this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than the observable universe. That number for reference looks like this, with this many zeros. Let this number sink in for just a moment. This would be similar to you thinking that the entire observable universe, everything that you could see, was the size of a light bulb, but then realizing that in reality the entire universe is larger than the former planet of Pluto. Imagine a light bulb in the center of Pluto, but we inside the light bulb were totally unaware.
Alright, so this is what I said about if you're in a boat in the middle of the ocean, you can only see so far. So you don't even know the Earth is there if you've only, if all you've known, if the only point of reference you have is the boat. You can live on the Earth quite easily and only know that as your entire universe. Yeah, so that's exactly the same thinking. But it's quite possible.
Aware that Pluto existed outside of it, and that's a similar.
If you think about a flea, so a flea grows up on a dog, and it thinks, and you can think that the dog, like you can do this in the micro level too, so the flea can be on the back of a dog, and its entire life could be around a 5 centimeter radius around the back of a dog, and that's its entire universe. That's its entire world, and it has no idea about anything else until maybe a big flood comes along when it gets washed.
Situation to this. We are all so unbelievably small, but you shouldn't worry, because all that means is that there is so much left out there for us to discover together.
Alright, okay, cool. I like that. It also means something else, but it just shows you how special we are that we do know this. So if you're a human and you're alive today, you live in a world, you live in a place, you live in a time when we know this to be true, which nothing, no other animal, no other living organism knows this, which is something to think about. But anyway, there we go. There's my reaction to how small we are in the universe. Leave some comments. I always like to read your comments. I always answer to all of them. Again, thanks for all your best wishes with my COVID recovery. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Salada.